For quite some time before the natural disasters of recent years, Australia's tourism sector has been doing it tough, thanks in no small part to the high Australian dollar. But one long-standing institution of Victoria's tourism sector, seeking fresh overseas markets as well as rebranding itself locally, have been the key to surviving the uncertain global economy.
I've been here for 17 years and I haven't seen it this tough in that time. Our traditional markets, you could provide free airfares and it would be hard to get them out of their recessionary way of thinking at the moment.
About 700,000 tourists travel to Ballarats Sovereign Hill each year to see a depiction of life during the 19th century gold rushes. It's a substantial operation. There are 360 employees, 250 volunteers and an operating budget of about $25 million.
What that delivers is the personalised visitor experience. So when visitors come, they don't see static displays. They see the hustle and the bustle of the main street.
But like many other tourism operators in Australia, Jeremy Johnson is finding the economic woes of other countries are being reflected in his bottom line.
Our numbers have been down in the last 2 years. The traditional markets, UK, Europe, North America and New Zealand, has certainly been downwards. We've probably averaged around a 10 or 15% loss in those markets.
And while those losses have been counterbalanced by the growth in visitor numbers from Asia, business is still tough.
I think the main issue for Sovereign Hill has been the fact that the high Australian dollar has meant that Australians are travelling out of Australia in far greater numbers.
If you'd like to make a line-up, I'm giving away free haircuts.
With more airlines touching down at Melbourne's curfew-free airport, there's greater temptation to reach for the passport.
Aviation access is critical to Victoria's success. The double-edged sword, of course, is that if you've got seats coming in, you've got to have seats going out.
She's not even scared.
There are more Australians who visit China than there are Chinese who come in visiting Australia.
It would take a significant drop in the local dollar's value to make a difference.
For the tourism sector, I think around the 70 to 75 cents is where the inbound market, and in particular the newer markets, seem to be very comfortable, and it probably puts enough of a brake on outbound tourism.
In the meantime, Jeremy Johnson says the marketing can never stop.
Fortunately, our Asia market, and China in particular, has been a growth market for us. We've redoubled our efforts there over the last few years because competition obviously is very tough in that market. In our domestic market, we've rebranded Sovereign Hill to pick up the fact we've been going 40 years and say to people who came perhaps many years ago that it's time to revisit.
As chairman of the Victorian Tourism Industry Association, Jeremy Johnson wants more widespread support for his sector from all levels of government.
Regrettably, at times, I think there tends to be a focus whenever there's a negative event that occurs. So, for example, in recent times, the impact of the cyclone in Queensland and the floods in Queensland has meant that possibly there's a feeling that it's only Queensland that's suffering from a tourism downturn. That's not the case. Probably if they were to deal with the natural disaster funding for tourism quite separately from the general tourism pot, that would be supported.
But he doesn't spare some of his fellow tourism operators either.
I think our industry at times tends to be a bit like a cargo cult mentality. They wait for, governments or someone to fly over and drop the magic parcel of promotional money or whatever, and I do think we've got to put our shoulders to the wheel financially and also with our own skills and efforts.